Ready to take your aerial reconnaissance to new heights? Meet Werx, your go-to source for cutting-edge aviation analysis and intelligence updates. It's all happening right on Patreon. With 4 tiers, you get to choose what level suits your needs. From discounts at the workshop to ad-free content, you'll have access to live SITREPs, Q&As, and video archives. Werx Patreon isn't just a subscription. It's a doorway to unparalleled insights, exclusive content only available here, and a strong community of like-minded individuals who share the same passion for intelligence analysis.
Hey folks, Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. Listen, I am thrilled to invite you to our exclusive community over here on Patreon. All right, hey, welcome folks. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. It's going to be your sit rep. It's 6/11/2024, coming to you live here from the Monkey Lounge in the great state of Texas as we get into the deets. Are we repeating history? This has all of the Cold War makings coming back into play. Russia versus the United States, the Cuban Missile Crisis, you may remember that. We seem to be headed down the same path, repeating all kinds of different things. You always hear, if you forget your history, you're bound to repeat it. You're looking at immigrant camps. Same thing happened with Dachau and the rest of Germany. Started out as one thing, transitioned to another. And we're down a very slippery slope, dangerous path here in the United States. With Russia coming down and doing a very large-scale exercise in Cuba, this is a game changer because it is starting to repeat exactly what happened. If they put nukes into Cuba, we're going to talk a little bit more about where they are talking about putting nukes. And Cuba would be one place. Mexico is another. And let's just kick the tires. We're looking at Skyglass here right out of the gate. And we're sitting around 260 roughly aircraft up. Currently on screen. I've stripped out all of the trainers, but if you look at the air refuelers, you're talking 27 KC-135s, add another 9 or so B-76200 Pegasus, and it is quite busy. You can see this little air refueler out here right off the coast of Cuba. That's because we got fighters up right now all over that area. Guaranteed it is just a frenzy of stuff happening down there in the Caribbean. And so let me do this. I'm going to take these, I'm going to back that part out. The only one big thing is you'll just notice as I kick it up, the amount of intelligence balloons that are up. Of course, we don't see them all, but you got 2 right here over Texas, 2 up here. Those are 90,000 feet, 80 and 90,000 feet. Another one here, another one here. These are Mil-Intel balloons. They are doing SIG-Intel. They're doing all of the other stuff that you imagine they could be doing. Anything that's going through this little smartphone device right here is being captured. And it's not just the balloons, it's R-135s, it's a whole bunch of other stuff out there. So let me do this. Let's start off talking R-135s. Important, this piece here, this is SIG-Intel. So these are grabbing cell and tower data, all right? Notice it's down in Nellis. We know there's a red flag mission going on down there relative to that particular aspect of SIG-Intel. And then you can see the trace lines out, go down towards Constanta, etc. Again, this is grabbing cell data, all right? Mobile phones, satellites, anything like that. It's gathering all of the stuff that they can get their hands on, all right? But it doesn't stop there. This is where it gets really interesting. This is your nuke sniffer, Constant Phoenix. Notice it heads up to Alaska, right? Little transition and then back. And then you come down, notice it heads down to the southern border of Texas. Again, this is an atmospheric sniffer, all right? Broken trace headed down towards the Caribbean. That'll come into play here in a minute. And then notice there's one that goes into the UK, all right? R-135s. All right, now let's get into the watch list. Intel community. Big piece is just notice the broken trace that heads down to the Caribbean as well. Right? We've got a lot of assets going down there that we're not seeing right now. And then this is, again, this is SIG-Intel. They're grabbing and gathering data, all kinds of data, everything from radar stuff to mobile devices to satellites, just anything that is emitting a signal. Our Intel community is gathering that. That tells us, too, where they have all their missile defense stuff, their launchers, etc. Notice there's some going on down there in Saudi, near Riyadh. We'll talk a little bit more about that too. We've got some new developments that happened down in the Red Sea area with the Houthis. And then, of course, Philippines, Malaysia, etc. All right, talk sub-hunters. And you would expect to see a whole bunch down there when it comes to the Caribbean. Just notice you got one that disappears down into South America. Broken trace. Yeah, we know all about the Navy P-8s and what they are always up to. Hard to see that line. It's black line, but it's there. And it's just kind of hard to see on your screen. But then we get over here to Europe, and you can see the sub-hunters. Just notice you got a trace that heads down towards Malta and disappears. Again, broken traces. All right. Okay, let's talk Navy E6. This is just going to tell you where we have nuke subs. All right. Not over the center of the United States, but up the East Coast, off the left coast. But then here's one interesting piece for you. Watch where this one goes. Yeah, it heads up here to the Barents Sea. Notice that little land and then off doing some work. That tells you we got a nuke sub sitting up here, folks. All right. All right. That's good stuff. Here we go. An AWAC. Speaking of nukes, one of your sniffers. Again, advanced early warning. This thing is doing very similar work to what that R135 Constant Phoenix does. And then notice you get down here, down off the coast of Florida, off the East Coast. And then you got one that heads out towards the Texas border. And then some legwork happening over the Las Vegas and the Nevada area, all the way up to Reno. And then, of course, we get over here to this side. Just notice those man-in-the-middle circles over Constanta. All right, they're grabbing cell tower data in that general area. That's what that man-in-the-middle is doing more than likely. Let me see if we got anything else over here. A broken trace there coming out of Okinawa. All right. And then let's talk watch list for a hot minute. And again, here, you're looking at the military intelligence balloons. Bad dudes are way up there, well above commercial traffic. See a little 3-ship of KC-135s over Texas. You can see them stacked there right in the middle of your screen. Got a third-party refueler off the left coast. And then an air refueler down over the Caribbean. All right. Okay. That's going to kind of handle your watch list from the most part. We got a lot of different things happening and a lot of heavy focus. Let's talk C-17s for just a hot minute. And the key to this is showing your supply lines, okay? And it is the Globemaster. It's one that's made for far reach, not your little short haul C-130 stuff. But notice you got a lot of flights in and out of Hawaii, out to the Asian Pacific. A lot of things down to the border towns. Right, you can see it Southern California, down to Miami, down to Central America, down to South America, right? And then notice there's a flurry of stuff going in and out of the USVI, right? That's going to be that go-to location. You got to have everything in play if things go hot. That's where they're going to go. Leadership's going to head down there into their little bunker in that area. They'll be right as rain. Look at the sea of flights going across the drink. This is 3 days worth, 292 flights, 3 days. Look how thick the trace lines are into Ramstein, and look at the flights in and out of RZ Poland. Not a lot to show on the board today from there, but C-17 traffic has been very heavy and a lot of stuff going into the Middle East. Okay, and then over to Asia, it'll be just as busy. You can see a lot of flights out of Okinawa in and out of Japan. And then down to the Philippines and Australia, which are pretty busy in Australia too. Okay, so we're talking about support. Let's talk about Omni. Remember, these guys serve many masters. Look at the flights in and out of Hawaii. More than likely, that's bringing troops in and out. Right, but then you notice the border flights, the things that are sitting down at the southern border here. In and out of Phoenix, right there, Biggs Army Airfield. Look at the flurry of stuff out of Miami. Now, remember, this is more than Omni. This is going to be Amerijet and a couple others. But it just goes to show you, as Swift Air drops off line, these guys went on to line, and you can see they are picking up. Same places where we see the C-17 traffic going. Convenient. But remember, too, they do serve many masters, so it's going to be military movements as well as immigrants. So it'll look very active and busy. And you get over to Europe, it kind of is interesting because you can see this is more than likely a lot of troops. Notice the Istanbul piece, though. That becomes important because that is a pinch point anything going into the Black Sea, if you control that channel that goes in and out of the Black Sea, you shut down the Russians' ability to provide anything from cargo to tankers going into the Black Sea, because it all goes right through there. Now that becomes interesting because they have a very good relationship with Turkey, who is, oh, by the way, on the NATO side of the house. Yeah, I can see just some other traces there out to the Asian Pacific side. Okay, let's get into the news. You're going to see here, this is Flashbang's schedule. Really not a lot to talk about, although it looks like he is bailing out of there. Granted, this is for today, but it ends at around 2:30 in the afternoon. But we go over here, and I noticed that it looks like he is headed home, given the size of the ring there. That looks like that is going to be Flashbang on the move. And again, hurricane season, you can see we got already some storm stuff coming through. Press on from that, move away from Flashbang. Just a little data point for you, because, you know, we keep putting sanctions on Russia and they seem to backfire on us, and they're not really hurting Russia. And you can see right here, again, Russia's oil and gas revenues surged by 73.5% just in January to May. And that's a comparison to this time last year. So yeah, it's a data point for you. Okay. All right, moving on over here. We do have a box that just caught my eye. Right here, this is new. It's getting ready to come online. It hasn't activated yet. It'll go red. It's just another danger box up to 60,000 feet. Remember, we're showing you all the fighter activity. I think there's stuff going on out here. Remember, the distance between here from Hawaii to the Marshall Islands, which is Kwajalein, it's going to be your space force out here. It's 2,000 miles. So looks like they've got some stuff happening. A little worry maybe out in this general area. Okay, and then you got a very large box here. And then this is all NASA doing their science stuff. Okay, Russian military exercise in the Caribbean. Here's what to expect. Well, I will just tell you, give you the cliff notes on it. Got a lot of little pieces. They do have long-range bombers coming into play. And they also have submarines. In fact, we were tracking a sub and it disappeared, and then we had a flurry of P-8 activity and stuff out here over this general area. You've got the Coast Guard is up, tankers that are up, and oh, by the way, we do have a couple of B-52s up as well. Let me see if I can still track them right here. 2 of them just getting airborne out of Shreveport, so that'll be out of Barksdale Air Force Base. And let me just back it up. I want to see if we have any traces on these. I want to see where they actually took off and went to. I'll come back to that here in just a minute. Because this will actually have to clear the board. It looks like they've just gotten airborne. One looks to be headed out towards, let me just hit stop. Yeah, we'll stop. All right, so this one looks to be kind of hanging out in the general area at high altitude. And, well, I say high altitude, 28,000 feet, just kind of hanging in. And then this one looks to be kind of dispatched, headed towards kind of the center U.S., maybe up the East Coast. Maybe it's leaving. It's only at 21,000 feet. It's kind of low altitude for the B-52. But again, this is U.S. bombers. We know Russia's got their bombers that are in play down here as well, submarines, etc. So we'll take those away. And I hit stop on that. Let me just hit a quick refresh and we'll move on. But while they're in play down there doing their thing, the U.S. Navy is going to be shadowing them. So pay attention to that. Again, you know, this could get very squirrely very fast if there's some type of an engagement right off our coastline. Just to give you a general idea, we go over here to the marine vessel tracking. This is going to be military stuff. Just notice we have, that is a warship. That's probably, I don't know what that is. That may be another warship. Coast Guard here. So we've got a handful of vessels, U.S. government vessel. That's actually going to be a warship too. Coast Guard. And let me see if we got anything a little further down south. I see Coast Guard in port there. But let's go over to this. There's one of your warships. So that kind of paints a little bit more of a picture, as you can see, as this is actually the area that the submarine disappeared. This is international waters, but that is where they lost it. I want to say it went down. It was like 1,200 feet or something, and then boop, disappeared. I got to make them really nervous. All right, here is the arrival board for Guantanamo Bay. Looks like business as usual. I don't see anything bouncing in that's not supposed to be there in terms of the arrival. This TCN is just, that's the flavor. It's going to come in on Tuesdays and Fridays. Delta Airlines, looks like that one's a little interesting because it's coming into Cuba, but it's bouncing out and headed back to home base operations. So it's probably a deadhead empty flight going back to Hartsfield. That may have been troops. That's Air Transport International. It's a regular flight for this day, Tuesdays. All right. Okay, over to Dover, you'll just notice a couple Atlas Airs, big one 747, and then that's headed to Ramstein. And then we have some UPS flight coming in, also headed to Ramstein. Okay, so we keep going. Got nothing temporarily unavailable. That was Ramstein. So imagine that. It's a bummer. It's pretty busy over there. But let's see. Nothing actually on the board. It looks like maybe we're having an issue here with FlightAware. This is the British stuff. Okay, here. The Brits just didn't want to load either. All right, nothing on the board for the Brits. Okay, they just landed actually. It was on there just a minute ago, but now we go here. You can just see we've got some camera flights headed in. This is, let's see, where are they headed from there? In and out of Crete, headed southbound, 31,000 feet. Don't know where that's headed. And then this one coming across the drink looks to be headed into Crete as well. So maybe some troop rotation there. And let's go down a little further. This is going to be, let's just see, RZE Poland. Again, this is Ukraine right here. So this is our forward operating base. Notice you got some Antonovs coming in, but I see the Belgian Air Force and not a lot of other things. I see the Belgian Air Force leaving right here back to Brussels. As I'm just looking, yeah, very quiet. Very, very quiet. Okay, now this is where it gets interesting when you start talking about Cuban Missile Crisis, and then you start talking about kind of the next level of that. This is kind of like 2.0. It says Russia could deploy. Now, Putin was just talking about this the other day. We mentioned in the SITREP. He said, hey, you know what? You guys want to play this game? I'm going to start strategically placing nukes very close to the United States and other countries that, they have friendships with. And so it looks like he is about to deploy or could deploy into Mexico. Let's see if that sticks or not. We do know they have a new female president, I believe, that was just elected in Mexico. And so evidently she is very tight with Putin. And so I'm sure there are a lot of other things that Russia will do to sweeten that deal. But them parking nukes down into Mexico could explain why we got the sniffer headed down there, et cetera. Because they are obviously worried about that. All right. And check this out. The U.S. Army actually confirms that a Russian A-50 radar jet, so that'd be just like our AWACS, so that's advanced warning, was shot down with a Patriot missile. That's not good. They call it Sambush. Bring down an A-50. This is the Russian variant of the AWACS. You can see the little dome on the top. But that is kind of crazy. This actually took place back January 14th. They're just now coming out and talking about it. Wow. Okay. So we have been seeing all kinds of little things that we don't hear about popping up later down the road. So interesting. The article just came out June 10th. So I guess somebody's just coming clean of what happened earlier this year, but not good. And just not good. All right. Here's National Cargo. Toronto to Hong Kong, so that's going to be non-military. Anchorage to, I don't know where that is, but Orlando to Philly. So again, National Cargo. Let me see what the aircraft size are. 5.7. So this is probably, if I had to guess, that's migrants more than likely. These two, this one's non-military. This one's probably just some military-related stuff. 747. All right. And last up, if it grabs anything, Western Global is same thing, non-military, Los Angeles to Hong Kong, but Anchorage to Chicago. And doesn't really want to give me the flight data on there. So it's all right, we'll move on. U.S. CENTCOM confirms Houthi missile strikes and damages 2 ships. Okay, so what are we going to just continue to allow? Why are we letting this happen? We ought to be in there just scorched earth and teaching them a lesson. For some reason, we just seem to want to dabble in this, and it's costing us a lot of money. And, it goes back to the old day, you heard, when they said, what am I going to do? Send a cruise missile in to kill a camel in a tent, I think that was G.W. Bush back in the, prior to the Gulf War. But nonetheless, yes, that's what it comes to sometimes, because they usually hide things around that same area. But the Yemenis Houthis damaged 2 commercial vessels in a missile attack in the Gulf of Aden in the last 24 hours. So they are continuing to pop things off. And we've already seen them knocking down our Q9 drones, 6 of those to date, which are not cheap per copy. So just, keep our eye on this, because this is something that we seem to not be able to get control of. Little tiny country like Yemen, and we can't seem to shut that down. That just goes to show you, to the point of we have such a weak administration that if we go to war, you think for a minute that anybody is going to make the right choices in a war situation? Probably not. Not with this current administration, because they're not really qualified. And if you go to the Joint Chiefs, this is exactly what they want. It's what the deep state wants. Okay, last piece to this. This Malawi vice president was killed in a plane crash. I read through the Turkish news that it was actually a helicopter crash. But this is the guy, I guess, and 9 other members, I think, were on this, whatever it was, plane, helicopter. Interesting that they can't seem to get the story straight on how it happened. I will just say this guy he actually had some issues and some bad publicity stuff. I think he got caught doing some things he wasn't supposed to do. But nonetheless, it's just interesting how these world leaders seem to be going down in flames. Don't want to play with the United States? No problem. We got you. All right. Well, listen, that is going to do it for our SITREP today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday. We'll see you back here on Thursday. If you're in the Q&A, just sit tight. If you're in the live audience, sit tight. We got the Q&A coming up immediately after this for those folks that are in the member community in the live chat. So that's it. You guys be safe out there. God bless. Keep that powder dry and stay frosty. Monkey out.
Thanks for watching. Head over to the online store to check out the latest gear and products by scanning the QR code on screen now, or go to monkeyworksus.com.